listening to episode 2 of the MicroProse podcast, which is all about the point-and-click adventure game Neyyah. Our featured guest this week is Neyyah's creator, Aaron Gwynaire. We will also be speaking with Nigel Goodwin, who plays Vermeer, Paul Hayward, who plays Smollax, and Peter Renzullo, who shot the game's iconic FMV cutscenes.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the MicroProse podcast. We are Dan Tozer and Nanci Knott, and today we are discussing all things Neyyah.
If you don't already know, Neyyah is a point-and-click adventure game created by Aaron Gwynaire, who we will be chatting with shortly.
Neyyah is supported by Screen Australia, published by MicroProse, and will be available to purchase in the very near future.
September 2nd, to be exact.
We'll also be chatting with Nigel Goodwin, who plays Vermeer.
You might recognise him from the game trailer, if you've seen it.
And Paul Hayward, who plays Smollax.
This is a particularly exciting episode for Dan and I, who were both involved in Neyya's development. I've been part of the team for about 7 years, fulfilling roles spanning communications, creative support, and project management, as well as playing one of the characters.
I was lucky enough to come on board towards the end to voice a character named Hyan. "Is this what you want?" I asked. "Is this really what you want?"
So, without further ado, let's introduce the man of the moment, Aaron Gwynaire from Defy Reality Entertainment, whose game Neyyah will be launching on September 2nd, 2025.
Hello, Aaron, and welcome to the MicroProse podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Before we go back to the beginning, let's start at the end. Aaron, how do you feel about reaching the final leg of this 7-year development journey?
Amazing. Very amazing. It's almost surreal as well because it's been so long, and at so many points I was just thinking to myself, the end feels so far away, and now it's actually here, like it's getting really close. So it's such a bizarre feeling, but such a relieving, happy, exciting feeling at the same time. And, you know, kind of emotional in a lot of ways as well. You reflect back on a lot of things, you know, after such a long period of time of making a product like Neyyah. So I'm just keen to get it out though. I'm just really keen to get this game out there now.
If you could go back in time to when you first started working on Neyyah, what advice would you give your past self?
I think there'd be quite a few different things, really. I don't regret the scope of the game because it is what it is. The game wouldn't be what it would be now if I hadn't done it a different way. But I think I know that certain things could have happened faster. It wouldn't have taken 7 years if I knew what I do now. Let's just say that. That's just the way it is. But yeah, I'm just really happy with the way it's turned out and how it's progressed. And, you know, with the help of yourselves, MicroProse and Defy Reality team and Screen Australia as well. It's one big adventure.
Let's go back even further to when you were a kid. So what games did you like growing up, and how have those games influenced your approach to game development?
Definitely for me, it was games like Mist and Riven that were quite there early on. But funny enough, even though they're quite inspirational artistic-wise, which is the whole reason why I started Neyyah, is because I wanted to create a world that people could explore. But then there were games such as Tomb Raider, Might and Magic 7, Desperados, What, Dead or Alive. You know, a lot of different kind of games that I was really into that really took a lot of time up when I was quite young. So I think they kind of sort of draw into the inspirations behind the game as well in a lot of ways. And films like Legend, Ridley Scott, that was one of the catalysts, I think, for me with fantasy in terms of kind of creating fantasy worlds and characters.
Yeah, you mentioned Mist style puzzles can be notoriously tricky. How do you strike a balance between challenge and accessibility?
Well, great point. I wanted everything to feel really real, like to the point where, you know, if you're lost, you're lost. You know, it's just the way it is. You know, you go into a city that you've never been to before, you're not going to have any yellow paint to guide you the way. So I wanted that kind of realism, but it needed to kind of come down to, okay, well, this is going to be a game that people are going to play, and you want to kind of appeal to as, you know, a big audience as possible. So there's certain things in place, like the Traveler's Guide, for example, which does give you, I wouldn't say hints as such, but it bursts out these moments within the game where you observe certain things that are going to help you. And then you've got things as well like the journey modes now, which give you an option of what kind of gameplay style you want. So you have 3 different styles. Not to go into too much information about them here right now, but you have more of a guided mode, and you have a mode where you don't have any guidance at all and you're just thrown into the world, and it's like hardcore point and click Mist-Riven lovers. So, you know, I think those kind of things were put into place to really kind of help the player orientate themselves, but know what they've done, what they've achieved. But it really comes down to the world, and that's that was the foremost thing, and that's one of the big strengths within Neyyah is the exploration. Definitely.
With someone that's never played a Mist style game, why should Neyyah be there first?
I think it's quite different, and even though it's taken its steps back in terms of how it's presented, because it's very much point and click like the original Myst, the original Riven from the 90s, and it's quite different to playing, say, like a real-time experience, where while those games are very immersive and amazing, there is a charm that Neyyah has where you have those pre-rendered graphics and you have those that kind of vibe about the game that just is quite unique in itself. Although it's kind of stepping back to the older ways of how games were made. I think the fact that you get to explore, it's a big world as well. It's not level by level. You're kind of thrown into a very non-linear experience. And so you can really kind of indulge yourself and definitely take your time. And I've had people play the game where, they don't really play games before, but they enjoyed playing Neyyah. So that's a really cool thing as well.
How much of the world and its lore exists in your head beyond what's shown in-game?
Yeah, there's quite a lot. It developed over time as well. And in many sketchbooks and notebooks and documents I've got on the computer, there's a lot of depth. And you kind of scratch the surface, I suppose, to a point in Neyyah. But I made an effort to bring that through, whether that was through the lore that you read within certain notes or journals that you find, or the actual environments themselves, which was quite fun actually bringing that story across. And it's funny because, a lot of point and click games, say like Broken Sword, they're very narrative driven games where you are playing a game that is telling a story almost just from beginning to end. With Neyyah, it's done this in a way where the story is kind of in pieces, depending on what you find first. So that was kind of interesting. I'm looking back at how I've developed it, because I didn't really think about it at the time. But when you kind of look at and analyze certain things that you've done, or you compare it to other things, and you sort of see those differences. So yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot there. There's a lot to explore and a lot to discover within Neyyah.
Can you talk us through how you approach sound design and music to enhance Neyyah's overall atmosphere?
Yeah, the sound has been something that's kind of taken maybe just, I've probably spent more time on the sound throughout the development, because it was one of the big draws of something that would speak really closely to the artwork and the realism. And so for me, recording sounds is quite a fun process, because like with recording music, you have all your layers, but you're using natural sounds and various different things to create maybe one sound. And it's just so fun just hearing that come to life, especially in a point and click game, because everything's fairly static to a point. Everything's pre-rendered screens that you're clicking through. And so the sound really has to sell the environment as well. So that's a really important part. The music, again, though, is like you mentioned, is quite an experience in itself. On my end, from the music that I recorded for the game, it was recorded in a fairly short period of time compared to the rest of the development. But those moments with that time period when I was recording it really, does stick out, and it was a really cool time. And it was really fun. And some of the music that I did develop further for the game on my end from my own stuff was kind of sort of pulled from maybe demos that I did as well. So it was kind of fun just looking back at some of those old tracks and thinking, well, that actually sounds really cool. That would work for this scene and stuff. So that sped up the time as well a bit on my end.
Just adding some context here for listeners. So Aaron worked on the soundtrack alongside Zayden Turner, who was aged between 10 and 14 years old when he worked on Neyyah. In addition to playing one of the characters, Zayden recorded and edited all the actor voiceover and created a 3D creature model for the game. Most impressively, Zayden spent over 2 years composing and recording a total of 55 songs, it turns out. I thought it was 39, but then when I was looking through your master list, Aaron, I realized it's 55. 55 songs.
There's so many tracks.
Yeah.
Like looking back at it, it's just like insane how much music there is.
What was it like working with Zayden on the soundtrack?
It was really cool. Zayden has his own way of recording things and his own styles. And so for me, I felt like I wanted him to be able to have that freedom to be able to do what he wanted to do, to record what he felt was appropriate for those scenes, while being able to direct and look at what was best for the game. It's just amazing sort of getting back the demos and stuff and the tracks that he was recording and then being able to put them into the game. Yeah, it's really fun.
Neyyah's visual style feels both nostalgic and fresh. What tools or techniques do you use to achieve the Neyyah aesthetic?
The Neyyah look, I think it came definitely from how I did things within Blender, but then Photoshop was a big part of how the game ended up looking in terms of like the color and the atmosphere that was created. Because, Photoshop made everything kind of pop a little bit more than the actual original renders did from Blender. I love desaturation. I always think that lends itself so much towards realism. But the cool thing about Neyyah, and this has kind of been mentioned about other point-and-click adventure games as well, is a dreaminess. There's this kind of dreaminess that I didn't really think about before, but there's a dreamy quality of how you experience Neyyah and when you move through the world and how you see things. It's supposed to obviously be quite realistic and everything, but there is I think maybe it's just the way it's presented compared to, say, like a real-time game or something that is really immersive like VR. But again, those sounds and the music, until you play the game, you don't get the full package. So everything combines together to bring Neyyah forward as an adventure, right?
Yeah. And I know what you mean about the dreaminess too. I think that's a really good word to describe it.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time engaging with the Neyyah community and have done since the early stages of development. How has the wider Neyyah community impacted Neyyah's final form?
I think the big thing was the Steam Next Fest, particularly. That was a huge leap in terms of getting the feedback, because I think it's been great being able to share the work along the years in various different forms and everything. But that was the moment where there was strong feedback coming back, whether it was good or bad. And that really helped shape things to how they are now. And that's what's exciting as well, being able to see how people who played the demo get a very different experience when they start playing this, because it's still Neyyah, but there is a different flavor in this final version of the game. That was really cool. The Steam community, whether that be on the Facebook or Twitter or anywhere, there has been a huge community feel behind Neyyah, which I really, I'm very grateful for. I think when I started the game, I just thought, wow, it'd be cool to just do like a point and click game like Myst. I started something a long time ago, back in sort of 2011-ish, and just seeing how people kind of gravitated towards it. I thought, wow, point and click, like a lot of things are being done real time these days, but I think there's still definitely a pull for something quirky like that and different. It is different. Even though it's very old, it's quite different to how things are being done now. So that's cool.
Have you had moments where you've thought, I can't believe I'm actually making a game?
Yeah, more so recently. Funny enough, after 7 years.
Because it's becoming real. It becomes real, I guess, doesn't it? You reach those finish lines.
Exactly. I think that's exactly it. Because when you're developing it, you're kind of making it. And it's great getting the feedback and the wish lists and everything like that. But now that the game is actually going to be coming out, you kind of think to yourself, wow, I'm not just going to be someone who's making a game. I'm actually going to be someone who's actually, worked with amazing people along the way, and then finally releasing it and actually having a game to say that I'm actually a game developer. I mean, that's a big thing. That's starting to really kind of hit me a bit more. And, waking up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, going to bed at midnight, and it's working pretty much flat out at the moment. That sense of tiredness doesn't seem to exist at the moment because I'm just buzzing. I'm going to be so sad by the end of it.
Yeah, then you can hibernate.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Having your first game published by MicroProse is a huge deal, And how did that even happen? And what's that been like for you?
I think it's just one of those magical moments where it's like, I can look back at that particular time. I was gathering stuff for possibly approaching publishers. It was about end of 2020, but it was when David Ligeti, CEO of MicroProse, actually approached me. I just didn't really think too much of this message. And it was only when he did email me the contract and I could go full time working on the game that it suddenly kind of like made me think, wow, this is pretty cool. Very grateful and very fortunate. There's a lot of different factors, I guess, that go behind that. It was sharing the game a lot. That's how, David found out about it. It's been an adventure in itself, kind of building that up, what to share, what not to share.
That's a really hard thing to achieve. And the fact that you've managed to get so many people that are so excited for this game and have been following the journey since, early days, that is a pretty big achievement in and of itself.
Oh, thank you. I feel at the moment I'm excited for everyone else. I'm excited for everyone who's been following the game. It's like I feel like if I was them right now, like really excited for a game that's going to be coming out. Finally, I get like an announcement of when it's going to be coming out. That's a huge step. It becomes more real. And that's what happened with the Steam Next Fest as well. When the demo came out, there was this like reality where I felt like Neyyah reached a completely different plateau of kind of like life, and it's happening again, and I'll see a huge scale with the game actually coming out and getting everything finished as well for the game. to come out.
This is the last leg of that mad scramble to finish things.
Definitely.
And true to the genre, actually, Neyyah contains FMV cutscenes, and you actually make an appearance in one of these. Can you tell us a bit about that, or is this classified information?
I wouldn't say. I mean, it was exposed in the demo. It's up on YouTube already, I suppose. Because I actually wanted to have, like an actor play that particular role. You said you should be in the game. You should be in the game. So yeah, I took that moment, and it's very much in line with how Knut Muller, developer of the REM games, and Rand Miller playing Atris and Mist and Riven and everything. It's following suit in a lot of ways. I don't have any acting abilities or any acting background, so it's been something I've kind of been interested in. But it was a cool moment just to be able to kind of jump in and do that. So
you've got the final product approaching fast, and the building side of that. Like, what was it like coming up with Neyah's story and writing all the scripts?
I think the story was kind of some of the story was already there. From my previous project and everything, I created quite a bit of backstory. And so it was kind of nice pulling from that, but then updating that and drawing into new different things. The scripts were, that was a learning curve for me. I think I would, and Nanci would know about this, I had a lot of, I wrote it to a point where it would sound so realistic. You'd have those huge gaps and stops within sentences and, but it had to be shaped, and, Nanci did a wonderful job with that. So that was really cool. It taught me a lot. So the story isn't interesting though, because I've been looking at other games and other narrative games and how they kind of tell a story, maybe in a linear form. You get the story from beginning to end. Neyyah is kind of a bit more like how Riven did things, I suppose, and similar games. It's told in a different way, and depending on where you are within the game. And what's cool about that, though, is that I kind of pulled from that more linear experience of beginning to end a little bit more towards the end of development. And I managed to add some things into the Neyyah world that enabled you to kind of have a bit more of a sort of staged story. So that was good. I'm glad I did that.
Speaking of games,
I want to play a game.
Aaron, would you like to play a game with us?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not?
This is a made-up game called Nothing, because it's not a real game.
It's got to be called something.
Or Nothing.
Something or Nothing. That works. Okay, Aaron, do you want to play Something or Nothing? In this game, we make a statement, and then you can tell us whether or not you think our claim is a verifiable fact backed up by something, or an urban myth backed up by nothing.
Something or nothing.
Okay, here we go. Round 1. In the original Myst, some of the alien trees were textured with photographs of broccoli. Is this something or nothing?
I think it's possible. I don't know the ins and outs with that much detail, but I think it possibly is nothing.
Correct. This claim is backed up by nothing. The creators of Myst using photographs of broccoli for textures is not supported by any reliable source that we could find. This seems to be a popular urban legend, but lacks credible documentation.
Round 2. Ron Gilbert, creator of Monkey Island, came up with the idea while standing in line for the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. Is this something or nothing?
Well, I'm going to lean towards something, but I don't know if this is true. I don't know. I'm leaning towards something with this one for some reason.
Well, leaning towards, but not leaning completely on, is correct, because this claim is backed up by nothing. No verifiable source supports the claim that Gilbert thought of Monkey Island while waiting in line, only that the ride inspired the atmosphere. I did find a forum quoting a blog post that Ron Gilbert apparently wrote in 2004, listing Tim Power's novel On Stranger Tides as being an inspiration for the game. The post claims that Ron said, and I quote, "Some people believe the inspiration for Monkey Island came from the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, probably because I said it several times during interviews. But that was really just for the ambience." Now, the internet being what it is, who knows? However, we will be interviewing Ron Gilbert in an upcoming episode, so maybe we can ask him. Dan, what have you got for round 3?
Okay, round 3. Myst was the best-selling PC game of the 1990s.
Come on, Aaron, you know this one.
Something or nothing?
Definitely something. Yeah, it was best-selling game until The Sims took over.
Correct. Yeah, this claim is backed up by something. Many somethings, in fact. Cyan's Myst was the best-selling PC game of the 1990s, holding the record until The Sims in 2002. It inspired clones, parodies, and new video game genres, as well as spin-off novels and other media. In 1996, a parody game featuring John Goodwin called Pissed enabled players to explore an island trashed by Myst players. Myst has been called one of the most influential video games ever made, based on its astounding commercial success and the lasting impact it had on PC gaming history. Nanci, would you like to give us the final round?
Indeed, I do. So far, you've got 100%, Aaron. There's a lot riding on this, so make sure you get it right.
Okay.
The claim for our final round is as follows. The goat puzzle in Broken Sword, The Shadow of the Templars, was so difficult it made the Guinness World Records list for most difficult puzzle in an adventure game. Is this something or nothing?
I want to lean towards something on this because I have heard that it was quite difficult for a lot of players.
You've heard that it was quite difficult? You don't remember when we got stuck on that for hours? You don't remember the goat puzzle?
Yeah, it did take a while from experience, I suppose, as well. It merges together. Playing Broken Sword. Yeah. I'm going to go for something on this one.
Oh, you were so close. The claim is backed up by nothing, aside from, actually something does count. It is backed up. It is backed up by the tears of countless players who made it so close to the end, only to be thwarted by a singular goat. But there's no record of the goat puzzle being officially recognised by Guinness, but it is infamous for being frustratingly obtuse. Many critics and gamers consider it to be one of the hardest video game puzzles of all time, which makes me feel a bit better about struggling to figure it out.
I don't know why it's so difficult, though.
This has been today's mystery segment, which I guess now is officially called Something or Nothing.
And this has been Aaron Gwynaire from Defy Reality Entertainment talking about Neyyah. Aaron, thank you so much for your time today and good luck with all things launchy.
Thank you guys.
Peter Renzullo is the talented cinematographer who filmed Neyyah's FMV cutscenes, and we are very happy to have him here with us. Welcome to the podcast, Peter.
Thank you for having me. It's very exciting to see this stage of the process. I'm really, really glad to be part of it.
Oh, definitely. We're glad to have you a part of it. And also,
welcome.
Yeah, and congratulations to yourself, the cast and the crew of your film, The Housemate, for winning the award for Best WA Feature Film of 2024 at the Perth Horror Film Festival.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, Best WA Feature Film for 2024, which is ridiculous because you always expect your friends and family, so they sort of have to say that your work's good. But to hear it from other people who don't know you from a bar of soap, it's really exciting to get that sort of accolade. It's been very humbling and exciting.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
Well, I have seen the film, and it is a lot of fun. So I can completely believe that it won. And congratulations.
Oh, thank you. They're really great.
Cool. Let's start off with some context. Peter, can you tell us a bit about your background?
Yeah, so I ventured into the world of filmmaking back in 2017. And before that, I was into producing music and working with artists and doing the studio work. So filmmaking, 2017 it started, and it would be my first feature film, Anticipation. So I did that as a bit of an experiment. Like, would I even enjoy being a filmmaker? Like, was this even a world I wanted to be part of? After doing that film, I just haven't stopped. I could not stop. It was so exciting. So since then, I've made 3 feature films, including The Housemate. And the most recent one was Unapologetic, which is a bit of a comedy drama. So I'm trying to make one in every little genre that I can, because I really want to try and see what it's like to experience, make filmmaking of all different facets. So it's been quite a journey. And in between that, I've peppered that with some music videos for artists. So I still got my hand in the music scene in that regard. But my first venture into making video for games is, of course, with this one here. So I was very excited when you asked me to come along for this journey.
We're excited to have you on board. So what was it like for you working on Neyyah?
Well, it was so different. I mean, as the actual logistics of it were on a grander scale than I've ever worked on before. For example, the shots we had, obviously, when you see some of the footage that was used from what I shot, you know, it's a lot of it a tight sort of framing and very close up with the art, with the actors, but we actually had set up 6 meter by I think it was 2.5 meters high by about 4 meters deep green screen, and they had to get that all lit up. We had to use basically an entire sort of room at the Mandurah Art Centre, I think it was it, and that was quite a work. That was quite a logistic endeavor. So nothing I work on, and because I've only ever done cinema, I wasn't really aware of what was needed for producing game footage and footage for games, because it's sort of an uncharted territory for me. So it was exciting, and I've learned a lot since then. So it was a great venture for me into how to make footage for gameplay and make it effective, and the stuff I've learned from it has been more rewarding than anything really lately, because it's been such a different world to what I'm used to.
Amazing. Aside from Neyyah, what's your favorite video game?
Well, I'm actually a child of the 90s. And I've got to say, Neyyah's got some very 90s vibes to it. I love it. And my favorite game from that era was from a Nintendo 64 game, Zelda, The Ocarina of Time. And I just fell in love with that game as a teenager. And at the time, I didn't appreciate this, but it was actually the whole game was 32 megabytes in size. And it was hours of gameplay. I mean, there was like to look at it now, how they did that, the ingenuity involved in trying to make a game fit on such a small real estate of space, and it be so engaging and so full. It just completely captivated me, and that game as a game just stands out as my favorite from that era. But that whole era, the 90s gameplay era, is where my heart lies. I really do love it. And I think that one there for me stands out as just my favorite game. Zelda in general, even the Majora's Mask, which came a couple of years after Ocarina of Time. But that was just one for me that thought, wow, this is like next level now. This is first player role play game, but it's across different locations. You got little mini games inside it, and it's such a cool thing. So I really loved that. And the fact that time would pass through the game. You go from day to night. And it was such a cool thing to go to the same locations at night or at day. Just everything was in that game. So for me, Zelda was the game for me.
That
Absolutely.
is a good answer. And yeah, a very iconic game.
Totally.
I don't think you're alone in loving the 90s games either.
I don't think so.
How do you feel about the upcoming launch of Neyyah finally?
Oh, I can't wait. I've released 3 feature films now of my own. I've also worked on other people's feature films, which has been really exciting. But this is the one I'm most excited about, because it's the first time that a game I've been involved in shooting some stuff for is actually going to be released for the public. So I can't wait. The anticipation's killing me.
Well, we'll all celebrate together sometime in September.
Absolutely.
Peter, it's been so great seeing you, and all the best with your endeavours.
Thank you. I can't wait to see how people take this game. It's exciting.
We are joined by Nigel Goodwin, who plays Vermeer in Neyyah. Nigel, it's great to see you as always. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Hi, great to be with you.
What can you tell us about your acting background outside of Neyyah?
Oh, goodness me. It's been a long and convoluted journey. I never thought I'd end up acting in a video game, which is absolutely fantastic. But I actually started in theatre way back in the UK, probably about 14, 15 years ago now. And I responded to an advertisement that was put through my letterbox advertising adult learning classes. And one of these classes was for acting. And I thought, I'll give that a go. I've always fancied that. So I started these acting classes, and then our tutor, who was a writer as well as a tutor, she actually said, I've written a play, and I want you guys to be in it. So I thought, okay, yeah, I'll give that a go. So I didn't even have to audition for my first role. I just kind of fell into it, or I was given it on a plate, basically. So we did this play, and we had an absolutely fantastic time doing it. And then some of us formed a spin-off group and did another play, and then there was another one, and then I started hanging out with some filmmakers as well, and got into film acting. So by the time I arrived in Australia, which was about 7.5 years ago now, I was already full on into theatre and film acting, doing short films and lots of community theatre. And then, so going through various networking events and things, I stumbled across this opportunity to be a part of Neyyah. So it's been a wonderful journey that's got me to this point.
That's great.
Speaking of Neyyah, Nigel, can you please tell us about your personal experience working on Neyyah as your character, Vermeer?
Yes, so you invited me to come along and read for Vermeer, which was fantastic, because his character being a scientist, being the head scientist on Neyyah, that actually reflected my background perfectly, because before I got into acting and filmmaking and such like, I was actually a science student and did some science research work. So it was right up my street. It was the perfect, it was very easy to embody that character because I'd already come from that kind of background. And then when we turned up and started shooting, just seeing those kind of script elements that were there for me, I'm just thinking, wow, this is like me in a former life. This is this is another
parallel universe.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very easy to get to kind of slip into that character, and I had a great time playing Vermeer.
Well, that makes total sense, because after I met you, I actually called Aaron and immediately said, "Oh my gosh, I've just met Vermeer." So I guess you were channeling your scientist vibes the day I met you.
Yeah, I must have been. My inner nerd is always itching to break out at some point.
We know you're not much of a gamer, so we won't ask about your favorite video game,
Which is obviously Neyyah.
I tell you what, though, I mean, back in the day, I mean, I'm giving my age away now, but I'm old enough to have played those very early arcade games, you know, like Space Invaders and Pac-Man and all the old stuff. So I do have a soft spot for the very old school, those very old school kind of dodgy graphics and Pong with a little ball bouncing across the screen and all that stuff. So I'm kind of old school in that regard. But having looked at the demo version of Neyyah and being given the opportunity to actually play it myself, I'm just thinking, wow, everything has come on in leaps and bounds since then. You know, looking at the technology now is just
so true.
It's almost incomparable with those very old school, very early games.
So what is your favorite role out of everything you've ever performed in?
Aside from Vermeer, obviously, which is clearly your favorite. Obviously
Vermeer, but it's so hard to pick one, because there's been so many and they've been so diverse as well. You know, I've played comedy roles, I've played bad guy roles, I've played so many different things. One of the most recent ones that I absolutely loved was I was given the opportunity last year to play Captain Von Trapp in the stage version of The Sound of Music. And that was really not just fun, but also it kind of shook me out of my comfort zone, because I had to sing. And I haven't sung on stage for like a long, long, long time. So that was a really, really exciting and really fun role. And I got to dust off my old acoustic guitar, and I had to work out the chords to Edelweiss, and had a wonderful time doing that. But probably one of my other favorite ones that I did quite a few, 5 or 6 years ago now, was the Full Monty, where we did go the Full Monty on stage. That's another favorite as well. So every role that you've just done is always your favorite, because you get so into it and so absorbed, and you just become that character and become part of that kind of stage or screen family. So very hard to pick a favorite, but probably two very, very different and very diverse roles: Captain Von Trapp from The Sound of Music and Gaz from the Full Monty.
Nice. Last night, you've been at a horror film festival for a screening of a film that you directed, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. I directed a short film last year, a 15-minute comedy horror called Hardwood, which one of my friends wrote, and he said, "Who wants to direct this?" And I read the script, and I immediately put my hand up and said, "Yes, I absolutely want to direct this." So I've directed a few little bits and pieces before, but this is the first proper, full-on, film that I wanted to enter into a festival, and we were very, very excited to actually be chosen to have our film in the Perth Horror Film Festival. And it screened last night to a very receptive audience. We got lots of laughs and lots of positive feedback afterwards. So yeah, that was another string to my bow. Sometimes I'm a director as well as an actor.
Oh, that's fantastic. So and scientist. Don't forget scientist. So.
Scientist, yeah. Feels like a lifetime ago now, but this is my chance to kind of rekindle that part of my life, being the head scientist on Neyyah.
Well, you can rekindle that even more on the 2nd of September when the game comes out.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Nigel.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks so much for coming.
Now we're joined by Paul Hayward, who plays Smollax in Neyyah. Paul, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Paul, what can you tell us about your acting background outside of Neyyah?
Primarily theatre. I'm an absolute musical theatre nut. I'm a bit of a show pony, right? So I love being on stage. I love being in front of hundreds, preferably thousands of people. That's when I'm in my element. Ironically, I suffer anxiety. So if you put me in a crowd, I freak out. But if you put me on stage in front of thousands of people, I'm just completely at home. So I've been doing musical theatre and theatre productions for nearly 20 years. Some standout roles, playing Jean Valjean in Les Mis a couple of times, a few different runs of that. Mamma Mia, The Little Mermaid, there's heaps that spring to mind. Community theatre is my passion. I did do a lot of work in TV and radio in the early days for a regional TV station down in the southwest of Western Australia, so in Bunbury. I worked for GWN Television, playing a couple of different characters on a TV show, children's TV show, over a 7-year period. So that was pretty awesome. And used to do a lot of voice work in radio as well. So Yeah, a little bit of this and a little bit of that over a 20-year period. Anything I can do that just gets to express myself creatively makes me pretty happy.
Amazing.
Yeah, I will never forget how good you were as King Triton in The Little Mermaid. And then I spoke to you after the show and realized how sick you were, but you could not tell. You just I don't know how you did that. It was amazing.
Yeah, look, I don't know how I did that either. Salmonella is something you will never forget for all the wrong reasons, much like playing Triton is something you will never forget for all the right reasons. But playing King Triton and having salmonella, yeah, look, that was an experience and a half. As I found out with an injury recently, adrenaline will get you through a lot. And then when you get to the end of what you need to do, that's when you just go. But that was an awesome show. I really enjoyed that show. It was a great venue. It was a great crowd. It was a great cast. And it was a really cool role. So apart from the salmonella side of things, very fond memories.
Away from the mermaid world, can you tell us a bit about your experience working on Neyyah as your character Smollax?
Yeah, look, it was an interesting experience because, and I don't know if it was intentional, I kind of think it was a lot of the stuff around the story of Neyyah was quite secretive. And I think that's probably so that when the players get to play the game, right, for the first time, that they're learning all about this story. So even what I was told was quite limited, but I think that was useful. And I think it's going to be really cool when I finally get to play the game and I can actually see it all come together. But I kind of just had a look at my character of Smollax and I was like, what is his motivation? What drives him as a character? What are some of his key attributes? And as I think for me, given that limited information, but wanting to get it right was really about diving into the character and how can I bring that to life? And I thought he has to be evil and menacing, but I think there has to be a side of him that's a little bit sarcastic, and almost in a weird way, a little bit charming and charismatic. So I kind of thought, with what I know about Neyyah and about that background, as limited as it was, what can I bring to this? And I think that makes it really cool, right? Because my interpretation will really shape the character of Smollax. And I think knowing what I knew about Neyyah is really exciting. It was minimal, but I think I had an opportunity to shape that, if that makes any sense. I had really creative freedom in what I did know and how I brought that to life.
I feel like your interpretation of the character was so true to who the character was shaped to be. Absolutely nailed it.
It was good. I remember being worried about the accent, and I somehow ended up channeling, I think, Jason Statham, and that wasn't intentional. But I was just thinking there's this charisma about him that can also be quite menacing, right? So he's likable and he's not likable at the same time. And I thought that's what I'm trying to achieve here. I want people to see this character and not really like him, but at the same time find something in there that just sparks them and goes, hey, there's something cool about this character as well. So if you're going to be a bit of a villain or a bit of an antagonist, then do it in a charismatic way, right?
Definitely.
Lastly, what would you say is your favorite video game?
Ooh, look, if you had have asked me that a few months ago, I would have given you a really different answer. I recently got into a game on the PlayStation 5 called Death Stranding by Kojima Productions. And when I first started playing it, I just thought, what the hell? This is just a walking simulator. I'm just delivering cargo. What the hell am I doing? And then I read a few things online that said, stick it out, stick it out, stick it out. So I stuck it out and I ended up absolutely loving that game. I just could not put it down. I think my wife just hated it because I was just playing this game constantly. And then the sequel came out a few weeks ago, Death Stranding 2, and I would have to say it's the best game I've ever played. As an outdoors enthusiast and as somebody who likes a little bit of escapism and likes to delve really deep into a story and get to know characters and make connections, I haven't played anything that rivals it. So I'm not trying to plug this game, right? But it's brilliant. That's the game that I've been sinking all of my time into lately. And before that, I did play a game called Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is set in the Belle Epoque period in France. And I thought that was really stylish and artistic. And as much as I'm not usually into turn-based games, that one drew my attention as well.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us today.
And we're excited about the release
of
the game. Yeah, home stretch.
Yeah. So much is going to come together that I'm still excited to see, because so much of it is still a mystery to me. So I'm really excited. Thank you for having me. I will play the game when it comes out. And yeah, hope to be back on stage and I'll see you there as well.
And now it's time for gaming news.
MicroProse are excited to announce the development of 4 new MicroProse titles: Better Than Dead, Drone Sector, Archrebel Tactics, and Car Park Capital.
Better Than Dead is a brutal photorealistic bodycam FPS set in Hong Kong. kill your captors, rescue the others, and record every second of your revenge. No remorse, no hesitation, only vengeance.
Drone Sector is a futuristic tactical gunship command game where you control the battlefield from above, provide close air support, guide your troops, and research powerful upgrades to dominate the fight.
Archrebel Tactics is a retro-inspired sci-fi turn-based strategy game. Lead a resistance, master classic action point combat, and shape the fate of the colony.
Car Park Capital build sprawling car parks, manipulate the masses, and profit from commuter chaos in this darkly funny tycoon sim.
And the best news of all,
Neyyah launches on September 2nd, a fact we definitely haven't mentioned 37 times on this episode alone. The MicroProse podcast will return next month with more exclusive interviews, gaming news, and, as always, a brand new mystery segment.
and endgame.